So there's a new process in the library for those of you who haven't seen it. And I'm in guiding the business right here. And I'm going to go to general processes. And these are all grayed out because I already have them in my system. But if I scroll down to this process called Process Solutions for Management, I'm going to tick this off and then hit copy. Now TouchStone's downloaded it from the library and it's right here on the bottom of my management list. When you download a library process, just as a matter of fact, click it, look it over and decide, is this a good process? Do you like it? Do you want to edit and change it at all? It doesn't have to be a long, vetting of it. If you like it and you want to keep it and use it, then go to here and link it to the job descriptions of the people who are responsible for it. So it would be like every manager for sure, because this is process solutions for management. And then now I've linked it to the job descriptions. Then I go here to the dashboard and I would assign it to the different managers. Say, hey, you have this new process. Give it a due date. I'd like you to review it. We're going to talk about it in our meeting. Please look it over before the meeting. And so now you've kind of taken that process and taken one step towards implementing it, which is getting people to use it. Sometimes it's as simple as just assigning it and they review it. You get the notification back that they did. Great. It's good to go. Or you want to sit and communicate about it, either in a one-on-one meeting or in a department meeting. If a manager goes to their control panel and you've assigned them or there's a new process, this default list is going to magically appear again. So I've got all my processes organized, into all of these neat little groups. If I have a new process, the default list is going to appear. So another thing that they'll do or should get in the habit of doing is just drag this to its right list. It's out of the default list and it's there for them to use. So I'm going to click it from here. What this is about is how to create a process solution for frustrations. So this is one of the pinnacles of management success. If you can take a frustration or a problem or an issue you're having with an employee, and you can sort that through and think about what a process solution is, then you're going to start making real changes. Most of the time, what happens is we're all running around trying to put out fires, right? This problem and this person's calling and that person's an issue. And I spend the whole day like putting out fires. And then, it's 6 o'clock and you're like, what did I do today? The problem with that is every time you put out a fire by fixing it temporarily or getting rid of it for now, it's just going to pop back up again. Unless there's a process solution put in place, unless there's a real solution put in place, it's just going to happen again and again and again. And we call this holes in the bucket. It's like your profitability draining out in a way because everybody's like repeating the same mistakes. And it may be very subtle. It might be the same mistake for 4 people once a quarter, but still, it's an issue. Another thing that you're doing as a manager by just putting out that fire is you're robbing your employees of the benefit of figuring it out on their own or learning about how they made that mistake and what to do next about it. This is difficult sometimes because you think that is going to cost you money. You think that is having your managers do that or you doing that. It's easier just to do it yourself, right? Than to stop and say, okay, I'm going to train you now. Look at all the time and energy that takes. Well, believe me, it's way less than what it takes out of you for not addressing it. So this just describes some simple ideas about, frustrations and how they're experienced. This idea of it's self-directed, like I have this problem or frustration and I'm like, oh God, it's my fault. I'm doing it wrong. I'm the cause. It's outer directed, and managers tend to do this a lot. It's your fault. It's his fault. It's their fault. It's the customer's fault. It's that guy's fault. So it's outside of you. And then there's another way, which is process directed. This frustration is happening because there's a lack of a process in place to make sure that it doesn't happen. There's a breakdown or an absence of a process that causes the frustration. There's no process in place for this, so that's what we have to work on. It's not my fault or your fault. The next step is asking questions, stopping, asking questions about the frustration. Why is it happening? Where is it coming from? Why does it exist? How is it reoccurring? There's some tools in this process to help with that. So here's the process solutions form. So the idea with this is if I've got a frustration, I'm aware enough, as a manager in your culture, someone has taught me I don't want to be outer or inner directed to this. I want to be process centered with it. So how can we stop this from happening? What's bothering me? So you put the frustrations in this field. Then you ask yourself, is this self-directed, inner directed, or outer directed? That's important to think about. Each person should do enough self-diagnosis to say, okay, yeah, I'm blaming other people for this. It really is their problem. They should know. Why don't they know? Or I'm blaming myself. The idea is to blame the process, but choose self or outer because that's all about awareness of how you're thinking about it. And then write the process solution down in here. How do you reframe it? How do I say, instead of saying Sam shows up late for work all the time because he doesn't care about the company and he doesn't respect what I'm saying, and he does this, he does that, or I'm too weak and busy to address it with him because I don't like confrontation, so now it's my fault. When the real issue is you don't have a what happens when you show up late for work process. You don't have a verbal and written warning process. You don't have a one-on-one meeting process where your managers are sitting down and looking that person in the eye and saying, what's happening at home that's causing you to be late all the time, and what can we do about it? You don't have an employee termination process where if they show up 3 times in a row and they've been written up all 3 times, then 3 strikes and you're out. So name the process here and then diagnose it a little bit further. So how is this affecting the business, the department, the team? What are some specific examples of how it occurs? How often does it occur? Who's involved with it? What are the results we aren't achieving because of this? What's the cost of this? This is important because it gets rid of that idea of, I can't think about this now. I'm too busy. I'm just going to fix it. I'm going to do it for you. Because if you really look at it and the cost breakdown of it, it brings more importance to it. Then you you decide if it's a high priority or not based on, all the analysis you did up here. And then this is how to build a process. Add a process with a title and objective to TouchStone. If it's another person's accountability for documenting, assign it to them from their dashboard. Decide if the process has multiple work plans. So just what we just talked about in its simplest forms. Does the process need checklists, scripts? Decide and create them. Then implement it by assigning it to all the people who are involved. So if this form, I think, is really cool if managers start to use it when these problems occur. One more thing before I let you go. There's also this form, a frustration tracker. So this can help you because everybody's busy. I get that. Everything I'm saying probably makes sense to you, but the implementing of it or the reality of it can sometimes be different. At least use this frustrations tracker. So put down frustrations that are happening, the business area it's affecting, what's missing, what's the process solution. Just write it out. Maybe you don't have time to stop and build the full-blown process right away, but at least you're tracking these things, right? You're tracking everything that's happening. This is an example. The receptionist shows up late 2 to 3 times a week. These are the areas that are affected. These are the missing results that are happening because of that. This is the impact it has on everybody. Here's the process solution. So that amount of thinking of it and planning of it can be really great. Then you can look at this frustrations list and maybe decide together in a management team meeting, who's going to do what. You can say, let's fix these 3 by next quarter. At least it has a place where you can document it. With a form like this, you fill this out and then you just save it. So now I've saved this form here. And if I go back here and I look to the right, here it is saved. So if I have another frustration the next day, I could run a report and find it in a few seconds. Or if you're in the process itself, you just click here and now I'm back to the same form. In other words, you don't have to create a new form every time. You just go back to this original form and continue working on it.